Now we've got a guy who's got enough guts to run against someone who has dubbed themselves the master legislator. That's Nancy Pelosi. That's what she calls herself. Our guest is Stephen Jaffe. He's running against her in a primary. So, Stephen, let me ask the most obvious question. Why run against the most powerful Democrat in the House?
I'm running because while Nancy Pelosi may be the minority leader, she is not the voice of the people of San Francisco. The people of San Francisco really have no voice in Congress right now. Their values, their wishes, their hopes and dreams are not voiced in Congress. There's a whole list of issues on which I sharply differ from my opponent, and start with single payer, where 70 to 80% of the people in San Francisco want universal health care. They want single payer. She not only is not for it, she actively opposes it. She takes donations from kinds of people, corporations like for-profit health insurance companies, big pharma, healthcare providers who have a very big stake in never seeing single payer passed into law. And then she votes her donors. And then she passes out this fabulous money that she claims she collects to other Democrats in exchange for their votes.
So there's two issues there that I want to tackle. One is the single payer. So you volunteered for Bernie Sanders' campaign. She claims that she's been for single payer for 30 years, but in reality, derided Bernie Sanders by saying he's talking about single payer and that's not going to happen. I mean, does anybody in this room think that we're going to discuss single payer?
Yes, my opponent says she's for single payer, and if you ask her now a straight yes or no question, are you for single payer, you get a 5-minute word salad of gibberish where she talks about how she used to be for it and pushed baby carriages 30 years ago, and we're not ready for it now, and we need to fix what we have. But you never get a straight answer, and she is not for it. She blocks it. She did not co-sponsor 676, which is John Conyers' bill for single payer. She did not endorse Bernie's new bill, 1804, for single payer. She didn't endorse 562 here in California. She is not for it.
Yeah, it's funny how both Feinstein and Pelosi say, we're not ready for it yet. They're in their 70s and 80s. I don't know when they're going to get ready for it. It's not anything about their age, but we're running out of runway here. Feinstein's been a politician for half a century. How long does it take you to get ready for single payer? Why don't you just say it? You're not in favor of Medicare for all. Just say it. You know why they don't say it? Because they know it's actually popular. So then why aren't you doing the thing that's popular if you're the so-called leader of the progressives in the House?
It's because of where her money comes from, Cenk. You know that. I mean, it's about money.
In 2016 election cycle, she raised $250,000 from quote unquote health professionals. But I'm sure that's a coincidence. So Stephen, so her position on money in politics is clear. When asked recently why she still deserves to be the leader, she said, because I raise the most money. Now, what is your position in money in politics?
I have two things to say about that. One, she raises a lot of money, but that's not where you stop. You have to ask from where. From where do you get your money, and what are you giving back in return for the money you're getting? She's getting it from corporations, and she's selling her votes. My platform is I want public financing of political campaigns. It's going to take a constitutional amendment to really undo, or a new Supreme Court to undo Citizens United. But public financing of political campaigns, which is done on some state and local levels, will go a long way towards mitigating the horrible effect of Citizens United, because politicians and people running for office like me, challenging other people, will not have to go begging for money.
Yes. Now, there's also something particular to the state of California and, as usual, Democratic establishment. So there's an endorsement process. So number one, for the people at home who don't know it, can you tell them about what that is? And then number two, what's the curveball they threw at you?
All right. California Democratic Party has what's called an automatic endorsement, which means when somebody who is an incumbent chooses to run again for the same seat, they will be automatically endorsed by the party, no matter how badly or poorly they may have done in the term. just proceeded. I believe politicians should be required to run on their record. And I'm just totally against the automatic endorsement. There is a way to prevent that, and that is to get the signatures of 20% of the delegates in the district affected. In my particular case, this just happened within the past few days. I turned in a petition with 20% of the delegates for the 12th district where I'm running. I was told by the California Democratic Party Monday, 48 hours ago, that you didn't successfully challenge it because your list had 183 names and you turned in 37 signatures, but we used a list with 190 names and you came one short. So they changed the rules after the game was over. And my understanding is that that is something which is happening statewide in various races around the state to protect incumbents against progressive challengers such as myself.
The Democratic establishment rigging the rules in favor of incumbents?
It's unthinkable, isn't
Why,
it?
I would never. Huh. Well, we are breaking news here at Rebel Headquarters.
Yes.
All right. So let's talk about the consequence of that, though. So what if they endorse her? Does that, like, like a lot of times the politicians brag about, oh, other politicians endorse me. Well, congratulations. But does that have an effect for the voters?
What I think is important about this is not so much who gets the endorsement or not. What's important about this is the corrupt practice that leads to it. You would think that after what happened at the convention, after Brazil's book, after the WikiLeaks emails that came out, after the fiasco for the party chair, that they would have said, gee, the light bulb needs to go on here. We should really stop doing stuff like that. But they don't. And they're doing it again now. And I think that adversely affects the party. I think it shines a light on a lot of dirty stuff that they don't want to be seen, regardless of who ultimately gets that endorsement.
And by the way, I don't know if it's the case in your race, but a lot of times once the Democratic incumbent or whoever the Democratic Party establishment has decided to support gets the endorsement, that is then sent out in literature to all the voters in that area. So what that winds up being is a giant free ad for whoever the establishment has endorsed. So, and that would be a huge boon for them, and the one that Pelosi certainly doesn't need. She not only raises a ton of money, as she brags about, she's also the 15th richest member of the House of Representatives.
Yes, 1% of the 1%, I would say.
So you don't need to rig things on top of that for her benefit. So which leads me to the question you must get all the time, which is, so I mean, look, she's so powerful. How in the world are you going to beat her?
Well, I hear that sometimes. I sometimes hear that. I'm going to win because California has a special kind of primary. We have what's called a top two primary, which means that every candidate for Congress in the 12th district runs in the same primary, regardless of party. Regardless of party. Then the top two finishers in the primary run off against each other in the general election. In a district like San Francisco, it's foregone conclusion that the top two finishers in the primary are going to be Democrats. I'm going to finish second. I want to finish a strong second. All the other candidates drop off. Those votes are all mine. The Green Party votes are mine. The NPP, hopefully, votes are mine. And frankly, some of the Republican votes will be mine, not because I'm Mr. Wonderful, but because they really don't like Nancy Pelosi. And if they have a choice between her and me, they will vote for me. Then it's a new ball game. It's her and me alone. And if I've come in second and she's come in first, I think I'm within striking distance of shocking everyone.
Yeah, no, the California runoff system is fascinating. It really does provide a unique situation. So, and they also lose the excuse of, well, what if a Republican wins? No, in the general in California, it's very normally two Democrats that are in the general election.
Correct.
So, and almost certainly, of course, in San Francisco. So it'll be interesting to watch. By the way, links to help Stephen Jaffe, if you're so inclined, are right there if you're watching live. They're in the description box below. You can just click on them if you're on YouTube or in the comment section on Facebook. So, Stephen, we got 1 minute left.
Well, there's one thing I want to bring up that I think may be of interest to your listeners. Nancy Pelosi debated her opponent in 1987, and she barely beat Harry Britt in 1987. She has not debated an opponent since. And I have challenged her to a fair debate with unscripted questions not supplied in advance in front of an audience of real constituents presented by an unbiased moderator. And I renew that here today, and I think that will have a lot to do with my chances of success.
Can I guess? She has not accepted.
Not yet. Not yet. Time will tell after the primary, won't it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Whoever wants to stay. Whoever want to run. Look, if the Pelosi's and the Feinsteins of the world, they should welcome debate if they're actually progressive leaders. Why wouldn't they want that in front of progressives?
Couldn't agree more.
All right, Stephen Jaffe, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so
Appreciate it.
much.